You're now listening to an archive episode of Or So I Thought, back when the podcast went by a different name. I really hope you enjoy it, and please make sure to listen to our new stuff. So, after you're done here, just scroll up, pick a new episode, and press play.
Would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
What makes a speech like Braveheart's so powerful? Well, for one, it's engineered to make you feel a certain way. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. We'll interview an expert who knows how to find your message in any interaction, and when needed, how to shock and awe your audience to get what you're after. Our guest this episode is an expert at persuasion, at rhetoric, and a master in the art of the soundbite. His name, Jay Heinrichs.
Hey, I had a 25-year career thereabouts in magazines, and originally started out as a reporter in Washington, D.C., covering Capitol Hill for a variety of environmental organizations and journalism outfits. I ended up becoming a suit, running a group of magazines for the Rodale Publishing Company. And I quit my job in order to write a book on rhetoric, and that was my first rhetoric book, Thank You for Arguing. So since then, because of the success of Thank You for Arguing, I've ended up becoming a persuasion consultant for a variety of nonprofit groups and corporations and even government agencies.
Jay knows that in order to get what we want, we have to make our messages stick. He quickly mentions someone who knows how to make news, for good and for bad.
For example, with Donald Trump, one of the things I realized was that when he's on the stump, when he's giving a speech, he speaks in what the ancient Greeks called periods. Now, a period is the length of a human breath. It's about 12 seconds. And the Greeks believed that the human brain evolved around our human functions, our bodily functions. So they believed that the length of an expressed thought that we can absorb in our brains is about 12 seconds long, about the same. Now, if you watch Trump speeches, he delivers, this sentence with a punchline at the end, and almost every one of them lasts exactly 12 seconds. Now, did he plan this? Did he read his ancient Greek? No, but obviously his years of reality TV taught him what was the most effective way to speak. And so for me, I didn't figure this out. I didn't know this in the first place. So I was wondering, what is it about Trump? Like, how is it that he gets these crowds to love him? And why does he seem so entertaining? And the fact that I knew there must be something made me kind of explore it a little bit. And since then, I've been doing a lot of speaking about the art of the period. It's one of the most important things to do in rhetoric.
But before you get to the point where you start creating your 12-second ideas, your periods, as the Greek called them, take a step back.
I think the important thing is in any pitch you're going to make, or any argument or any point you make, the hardest thing is what the heck you're talking about. So often we look at getting all poetic or coming up with the coolest buzzwords, in the office that people are using without really knowing fully what exactly we're trying to express. And so and Word Hero talks about a process for doing this, as you know. Just write down what it is you want to say. You need to have a goal in mind. What is it you want to accomplish with what you're going to say? Then boil it down and boil it down and boil it down again. Get it down to about 12 words. Then find 2 key words from those 12 words. Those are the perfect words that you're going to incorporate in a sentence that people are going to remember. And one of the things you can do, and Donald Trump does this all the time, repeat that phrase. Repeat those 2 words. Make sure they're fully planted in your audience's head. Now, the rest of it, you can do the planting and sound really original and fresh and not bore people to death using the kinds of figures of speech, which are, patterns of language or unusual kinds of words, and tropes, which are ways of sort of changing people's reality. Now, these are things that take a while to learn, but the most important thing is, as you say, the pith is the most important thing. It's what you start with.
So you've found what you're going to talk about. You found what Jay calls the pith. And from there, you've separated your full message into 12-second breaths, 12-second sound bites. But there is one magic ingredient that can make or break your success when you deliver your message. We'll check that out next. You can have a well-crafted message or a well-crafted speech or even a sales pitch, and it can still fall flat. Why?
The wrong thing to learn from my books is to talk a lot. The best thing to do is simply to listen. And, this is the most important thing about rhetoric. You can't do good rhetoric unless you operate off the beliefs and expectations and emotions of your audience. You can't do that if you don't listen to them. You have to kind of figure them out as you go. And, the very act of listening, I one of my first job interviews years and years ago, I was with this guy who just talked and talked and talked and talked. And I felt terrible when I left because I didn't get any of my points in. I didn't get to tell him how wonderful I am. And, then he ended up offering me a job. I didn't take it. But he offered me a job saying, hey, one of the reasons I wanted to offer you this job is that you spoke so well. You were so smart and articulate, and I loved your ideas. I'd hardly gotten in a word with this guy.
And speaking of words, your message, as we discussed earlier, should have 2 or 3 cornerstone words.
And those words, by the way, are words that I know will resonate with my audience. It's words that they recognize and really appreciate and value. So some words are really bad words in some audiences and great with others. Take the word community. If you're talking to a liberal or progressive audience, they love that word. If you use community, even if you're not talking about community, just use the word community and their hearts will start beating faster. You talk to a conservative or a right-wing audience and you use the word community, watch their faces shrivel up. So that's the other thing. Your pith should start with the beliefs and expectations of your audience. And it should accomplish what you want to accomplish, but it should use the language that resonates with them. And those where the 2 words come from.
And now you have your main message. You've chosen the appropriate 2 words or 3 words. Bring the odds in your favor.
Make their day. If nothing else, even if we lose the deal, we want them to remember us as the most fun. And, there's actually a tool to this. It's called cognitive ease. Neuroscientists came up with that term, obviously. And it is that, you're more persuasive when your audience is comfortable and when they're smiling. So the first thing I do is I make them smile. And sometimes you have to just sort of look for opportunities. You don't want to stand up there and tell jokes. But the big thing is if people feel like they're in power and they're comfortable and they're smiling, they're much more likely to be persuaded. And so I tell teams I work with, we're going to do an amazingly fun presentation. Now we're going to do that with deep knowledge of who these people are and what their culture is and what their beliefs and expectations are and their budget and, what frustrates them. And we're going to solve that. And we're going to solve it while making them really comfortable and happy.
A quick recap. We know that a powerful message can be communicated best in 12-second periods. We have chosen 2 or 3 key words that hold strong meaning to our audience. And we condition our audience to be receptive through the concept of cognitive ease. We're almost there. We bring it all home next with the most powerful tool of persuasion. To really persuade our audience and leave them with a strong call to action, we got to bring it back once more to the ancient Greeks.
Ethos is the art of character. It has to do with whether your audience identifies with you. So it's your expressed self-image. Now, ethos is one of the three basic tools of persuasion that were defined by Aristotle thousands of years ago. The other two being logic, which every logical person wishes were the most persuasive element, and emotion. So you've got logic, emotion, and character. And of the three, the most powerful is character. I mean, if you like and trust somebody, you're much more likely to follow what they say. Now, the C4 is caring, craft, and cause. That's C3. So caring, craft, and cause are the best way to get people to like and trust you. Caring has to do with whether your audience believes that you're in this whole deal selfishly. Whatever you're trying to persuade them for is just going to benefit you and not the audience. Caring means that you want them to believe you care only about them, even if it means sacrificing yourself. All right. So craft, on the other hand, means you know what you're doing and people believe that you can solve their problems. As I like to say, you may be a Christian who believes in Jesus Christ or in Mother Teresa, but you wouldn't want Mother Teresa to take your appendix out. She may be very caring, but on the other hand, she doesn't have the craft of surgery. So that's craft. All right. So finally is cause, whether you represent a higher cause that the audience can get behind, that they think is really noble. So that's caring, craft, and cause. Where's the 4 come from? Well, I like to say that's where the cash comes. If you're in business, you and your company or brand or your own personal relationship with a company or your customers is based on caring, craft, and cause, and they like and trust you, the money will come. That's the other C.
And whether money is your main objective, you're trying to make a sale, or you just want to craft a powerful message that'll help your community or help your school board, it all requires the same thing. Make your message memorable. All that requires is a little engineering. Let the Greeks show you the way. You've been listening to Wits About You. You can find out a lot more about us at witsaboutyou.com or by searching for us on iTunes. My name is Alex Cespedes. Thank you for listening.